Okay, right. Well, it appears to be more or less 8 o'clock. Good evening to anyone watching the net. Oh, that's booming through. Apologies to start off with to everybody for not being Dave this evening, but Dave is giving a talk to the Sutton and Cheam Radio Society, which is just down the road from here, but I think he's doing it remotely, but he's unavailable for comment this evening. Quite a lot of people watching. At the moment, I've only got 3 who want to join the net that have told me they want to join the net at any rate on the chat. So if you want to join the net, then feel free to let me know on the chat. So at the moment, I've got Mike G0MJW. You can go first if you're up for that, Mike. Russ G4SAQ. And Rob M0DTS, who is still in makeup, evidently. So I've got a couple of parish notices from Dave, if I can find them here. Oh, a lot of emails today. Let's see if I can find the right one. Apparently not. That's very strange. It was there earlier. Anyway, I do know that the deadline for CQTV is this Sunday, and there's still a few spaces, few lines available in the magazine. So if you've got something you want to tell the club about, then drop a line to the editor at BATC for CQTV. There was another message, but as I say, I seem to have lost that email. Isn't that typical? Very strange. Anyway, I'll have a look in my deleted box in a minute. Right, well, without further ado then, I'll put it round to you, Mike, and hopefully a few more people will join as we go along. So G0MJW to take it. This is G4FKK standing by.
Okay, thank you, Martin. G0MJW, returning. Just showing a picture at the moment, just to show you what I'm going to talk about. But I noticed we've got Richard and James who also want to join the net. So there's 5 of us. So we'll see what happens. I must admit I thought Dave was doing something else, but maybe that was just Tuesday. Anyway, let me just explain what's in the picture before I go to a proper picture. This is the first iteration of my GPIO board, which is not an official BATC board, but it's to try and facilitate doing the GPIO things. If I select a different camera, you can see an above shot, and next to it is a piece of equipment I acquired at the truly excellent Midlands Microwave Round Table last weekend, where I got 1 or 2 bits of junk, and all it is really is it was a KA. It turned out it's a KA band transceiver. Anyway, I've taken it to bits. I've no doubt broken it in the process, but it was completely useless for amateur purposes. It's got a nice looking chip in it though, which might be useful for something. And Gareth has managed to fix his system as well, which is great. Anyway, let's go to a picture of me, and hopefully that will work. And been getting in the festive mood. I don't know if you can see the Christmas lights behind me, but they're not exactly showing up well, are they? But there you go, and a little bit of green screen trickery as well. On the polycoms, so a few more people are getting polycoms, which is good. I'm just going to go back to the polycom and show you it again. So that is what I'm looking at on the bench. I'll just zoom out a bit for you to see the reason I bought the unit with the KA band was not for the unit itself, but was because it had a horn on it, which is the scalar horn there. I hadn't realised it was KA band though. I thought it was KU band. So unfortunately, I've got a perfectly good, I think it's a C120 KU band horn, KA band horn, rather than an X band horn. So what use is that apart from for 24 gigahertz, I suppose? So it might be quite useful after all. Incidentally, if you have a Polycom system, one of the things you will find is that you can look at the screen. And that's the screen that I see doing the camera. Obviously, it's doing a feedback at the moment, but there you are. And the other thing I was going to show, if I this is how these things work. If I select the other camera, so I'm currently on camera 1. I'm going to go to camera 2. And hopefully it will show you in this box some bits arrived from JLC PCB. Those bits that arrived from that box are what is here, which is this unit that I was just talking about, which is the thing to go on top of a Pi. But I haven't quite got all the bits yet, so I've put all the bits on I had. And I guess one of the things to note, let me just move it a little bit more into the middle of the screen, because I'm right at the limit of the focus here. Is this thing. That's one of the somewhat unobtainable at the moment switching regulators that we use on the Winter Hill, but the board has provision for other types of regulator as well. So is it going to focus on that, or is that too close for it? I think that's too close for it. Those regulators anyway are hard to find at the moment, but they say they'll have some in stock, but they keep being pushed back, which is a bit of an annoyance. But it can fit one of the other regulators, and I've already built one up for the Ryde, which is very similar, which has one of those similar regulators that you get that we used in the Minitune. Right, okay, that's enough from me, I think. It seems like it's over to Russ. So, yep, audio's a bit low. Thank you, Martin. I realised I'd turned it down for some other application. I'll turn it up. Thank you, Gareth, for that. So, over to you, G4 SAQ. G0MJW.
G0MJW and the group G4SAQ. I'm just massaging my ears, Mike. When you turn the volume up, you did a really good job. Okay, yeah, I like your fireworks, your green screen effect. That was very subtle. I must admit, I hadn't noticed the lights in the background until you drew our attention to them. But nice to see a little bit of festivities going on there. My wife's been on at me about putting up some lights outside, and I haven't got round to it yet. Probably a job for tomorrow, I think. Yeah, the Polycon pictures look really good, Mike. Very, very clear and crisp. And I do like your PCBs. I note you said it was JL PCB you use. I wonder if they're one of the Chinese manufacturers or somewhere in this country that that you're using. But all very smart stuff. I don't know if you're able to answer this for me, Mike, next time round, but I'm after a GPIO breakout board for the Pi 4. I think you call it the Mark II breakout board, and they're out of stock at the moment. I wonder if you happen to know whether they are imminent or whether it's likely to be a little while. I've started work collecting the parts for a Portsdown 4, and I've got the Pi, the 2 GB one. I'm pleased to say that Pi Hut have got them in stock, as well as the company that begins with a P. I've forgotten what it is, a Pimeroni or something like that. They've both got them in stock. So if someone asked about a Pi for 2 GB, and that's the place to go. Anyway, I was looking for a heatsink to go on it, and I found a review in a September 21 magazine, PC magazine, and this one came up as the editor's choice. I'll try and show it to you. It's it's a conventional heatsink, but with a little fan on the top of it, and it was very good value, and it's reckoned in the review to be quite good. So I thought I'd give that a go and see how I get on with it. I've got my screen at long last. Fortunately, Dave was able to advise me. I very nearly bought the wrong one. I thought the HDMI input screen would be sufficient, but I realise now it's got to be the one that's called the Element 14 with a cable, a ribbon cable going to the Pi. The other thing I bought, I want to be able to run my Portsdown 4 from a nominal 13.8 volt supply. So I've acquired a little buck regulator. It's gross overkill. I think it produces about 250 watts of power, something like that. So it's grossly overkill for what I need, but quite a nice little unit and very cheap. So yes, I see your comment on the Weberbat JLC PCB. Okay, Mike. Well, thank you. It's a little while since I had a PCB made, but I'll certainly look at that. That's very promising. Okay, probably enough waffle from me for the first over. Don't think there's anything else I had to tell you. So I'm going to put it over to Richard, GI4DOH, to take it from G4SAQ. I'll just put up the test card.
G4SAQ with the group GI4DOH. Good evening to you all. Got caught on the hop there. One of the problems with the little Bluetooth thing was I had taken the liberty of nipping into the other room. I realised you were passing it over there, Russ. So got that. That's neat looking little heatsink and fan unit for the Raspberry Pi 4. A few Raspberry Pi 4s kicking around here at the moment. So yes, I was away the last couple of weeks. I think club meeting last week, and then it was the 80 meter club championship CW the previous week. But between that and CQ Worldwide CW, I think I've had enough CW for the time being. So get my attention back onto the ATV type things. One, how am I going to do this? It's nothing like a bit of planning. I've got a power supply, a switch mode power supply, which comes from a spectrum analyzer that I bought, knowing that it wasn't working, and allegedly with a power supply fault on it. Yeah, if actually it's one thing picking the camera up and pointing it. I do need to change over. You can tell I'm new to this thing. So that's the spectrum analyzer with a NAF power supply. The handbook that I got for the thing seems to be a similar model, but it's certainly not a switch mode power supply. So it's digging down into the basics of it. Written down somewhere was a TDA 4603 chip, which is not one I've ever come across before. But even the sort of static things don't look good before it even tries to start up. So I'm waiting for another chip to arrive. So it's amazing how the hours can go by when you're playing with one of those. So that was a day or two wasted there, but learned a bit about switch mode power supplies, and I'm sort of hoping that I might get it working. But anyway, apart from that, just telling about the things while I had knowing that I had the other camera. I also picked up this FT847 a few weeks ago, and I fitted a little pan adapter board to it. Because I'd be lost without a pan adapter these days. Once you've had one, you can't do without one. The next thing is to get in and fit an on-off switch for the AGC on it. with a view to using it for more delicate things and the rest. So probably enough for me from the time being. I think others have joined, and I should have made a note there. It's round to you, James. G0 DQH with the group. This is GI4DOH.
Just checking the audio. Yeah, that's working all right. Yes, thank you, Richard. Good evening, everyone. I really don't have much to say at all tonight, except I spent last Sunday putting the NewTek front end in the 290, and the results are quite spectacular. I used to own one of these in the 80s when I was G1 FPM in North Devon, and I have to say it's livened the thing up no end. And I've got a node about a quarter of a mile away from me at South Millersdale, and I don't need an antenna up at all for that. It just absolutely ends stopping with me with the antenna straight down, you know, into the unit. But I've got it switched on to my left, and it's been pretty busy all evening, except now it's just gone quiet. So there you go. That's really about it from me. Mo and I are off to the Ivy at Winchester tomorrow, taking a friend with us, and guess who's paying? Yeah, right. Should be good actually. Mo's been there a few times, but I went once, and that was on her birthday. That was last year, something like that. But looking forward to that. But it's going to be a cold day tomorrow, apparently. So okay, who else is on the list? Let's have a look. M0DTS. You to take it, please. This is G0DQH in the Take it, please. This is G0DQH in the net.
Right, I think we're in business. Let's check we've got audio. Yeah, we have audio. Yep. Evening, everybody. Not been on for a few weeks, so I thought I'd better put a signal in and see what's going on. I have been watching the last couple of weeks, but maybe not as closely as I probably should have been. But yeah, the Portsdown 4 hat, or whatever you're calling it, Mike, that looks really good. Might have to get one of those myself, but it does look really good. All the breakout on that. Mine's just, there's a lot of wires hanging off the Raspberry Pi. Well, my Portsdown is in a bit of a mess. At the moment lives there, which is in multiple pieces. The screen's off the front. There's a line STR transmitter there, so yeah, you can see what it is, the state it's in. I'm not sure much more of that. But, I have to fix that. And that board would certainly tidy it up quite a bit. A roof. Well, that's a different name for it, yeah, definitely. But yeah, I've just noticed my videos stopped there, but hopefully it's okay with you guys. So, what have I been playing around with? Still been doing a bit of VLF transmission, so 300 or 400 watts of 8 kilohertz into earth electrodes. Doing some still doing tests across to Darlington, which is about 17 kilometers, but I haven't made any further DX yet. There's a loop antenna in the background there that you can see. I haven't managed to get that working properly yet, but it's Cat6 network cable, like for use for your network on your computer, which is quite thick, fairly thick core on it, and it's got a foil screen around the out. So I'm trying to make a screened 8-turn loop out of that for VLF, similar to what John's effort is JTT, but his is a lot nicer built than mine. But I'm just testing the idea, see if I can reduce some of the noise level here anyway on 8 kilohertz and around there. What else? Still doing some tests with the solar panel, but not a lot. I'm just looking at different solar charge controllers to try and use with it. And that the solar panel is going to be for the low frequency VLF receiver, which I'm going to put down the field hopefully, and that's also going to reduce some noise. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it really. I'm working on some new illuminations for Christmas for the top of the mast, but you'll have to wait till next week for that because I haven't finished it yet. A QRM creator, I think I have to call it. But there we are. Right, I think that's enough for me this time. I'll see if I can find something else next time. Not getting a okay. Yeah, my dish is unfortunately not quite well positioned today. I'll try and improve that.
Right, evening all. Just shut the sound up. Righty ho. Okay, thanks Rob. G4X80 from M0DTS in the BATC Net. Don't forget a transition. There we are. Right, okay. Various bits and pieces. Rob, I dare say you've seen one of these. I'd love to know what happens if I just feed two equal phase, equal amplitude signals into the two of those ports at the bottom. What I recognise are 3 isolators and then I think 2 rat race couplers. Mainly because I got a second one of those, which is a Toshiba 50 watt amp on 3.4. So I'm looking to join them up. Okay, and to power them, I bought some of these. They're 45 amps. You can see they're really hand size compared to most server power supplies. Very easy to tweak up to 13.8. I need them at 12.6, which you can actually do just by fiddling with an internal pot. So that was easy, and one of them and 2 of those Toshibas will make a very nice portable station. Okay, I've been busy doing stuff just for a change, so here's what I've been working on. This is a Cassegain feed adjustable mount for Knowles 122 gigahertz assembly, and yes, that is a 22mm pipe coupling at the bottom that goes through the dish. It's been slightly modified. If I just scroll through some pictures. Okay, that's the assembly. There's a couple of captive nuts caught in the larger bottom print thing that makes those rods go up and down. And of course, there's a pair of lock nuts at the bottom, and that's trapped in by a washer that you can see there, and the whole lot screws into the dish and provides adjustment of the reflector, and that's in the poster knoll to test. Okay, that's the back bit. This is another recent acquisition. That is a 50 watt 6 gigahertz amplifier. It's 30 years old, and there's a pair of them back to back. And that's the business end. There's 2 probes in each waveguide cavity that then feeds out into some combiners and interesting things, including dummy loads. How are we doing? Everything seems to be working. That's the driver stage. I've no idea how much gain it's got, but a lot. That's a view of the 222 gigahertz horn with an idea I had for mounting it on the back of the fitting. So obviously that fits on the hex nut. You'll see there's a recess turned in there, and the horn also fits in there if you prefer, like that. So that solves that very nicely. And you can see the step machined in it there. I machined through the whole bore of the thing so it matches the internal diameter of the horn. I thought that would probably make good sense. And that's a straightforward slide-on coupler that does the same thing, if you don't have access to a lathe, of course. And that's one of those X-projector LEDs. Noel showed me the flashing red beacon he uses for lining up on 122, and I remembered that I bought one of these a couple of years ago. That's on 2 volts, 1 amp, and it didn't even get warm. Yeah, I'd like to know what they're called, Rob, if you know, because then I can look up the spec and see how much smoke it can have. That's a little knurled nut. That's got a captive nut inside it as well, and then you lock it up tight, and that's a lot. And since my fan has just, oh lovely, thanks Rob, has just sped up, that tells me to shut up and pass it round. So, round to you, Martin. Let's see if I can get this right. G4FKK to pick it up from G4XAT in the BATC net. Over.
Yeah, okay, Gareth, very good. G4FKK returning. And, oh, it is working. Oh, wrong one. What am I doing? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, very good. And thank you, everybody, for putting up good pictures and sound this evening, so I didn't have to get too confused. I found the email that somehow had ended up in the junk bit box of my email system for some reason. So I shall read out the parish notices again from Dave. He said CQTV articles for the next issue to be submitted before this Sunday evening. That's the 12th of December. All articles welcome. There is room for additional content in this issue. So someone somewhere get writing, and otherwise Dave's going to have to do even more writing. Oh, a quick 73 to John, G4BAO, who popped up on the chat. Also, good evening to Bert in Holland. Glad you're watching this evening, Bert. The other message on the parish notices was that the Christmas activity ladder starts on December the 24th, and that's Christmas Eve, and runs through till the 3rd of January 2022. So to quote Dave, he says, please leave time in your Christmas plans for some ATV activity. Wise words. Good evening, Tony, as well. I don't know if you're wanting to come on this evening. So just a few notes I made here. The Christmas lights look excellent, Mike, and your Polycom system's coming along nicely. I've got a bit of news about Polycom, but I'll tell you that in a minute. Russ, yeah, JLC they do fantastic boards really for a very good price. And thanks for letting us know about the 2 gigabyte Raspberry Pis. I've always got 4 gigabyte ones, mainly because the 2 gigabyte ones are never available when I want one. But they seem to work okay. And as for Pi heat sinks, can I show you this one? This is, I'll have to unplug some things. This is a heatsink I use on one of my Ryde receivers. I think you can probably see that. It clamps on, probably more or less in the same way as yours does. But it has got 2 fans on. But it's actually not very good. It does keep it cooler than if it had no fans on it at all, just the heatsink, but not a great deal. The best cooling for a Pi I found so far is Mike's roof. I wonder if you could call it tit for tat. Anyway, that cools the Portsdown Pi that I'm using at the moment very nicely. Good evening, Richard. Good to see you back. And I hope you get the spectrum analyzer working. I bought a Polycom unit, which when I switched the mains on, exploded a couple of days ago, instantly. So I had the switch mode power supply for that out today, but I think it's probably beyond help, seeing as almost anything can go wrong in one of those, and you're never quite sure what might have gone. And a whole new Polycom base unit is cheaper than buying a power supply for it. James, yeah, the Mutex are fantastic, aren't they? And that makes the FT290 a really useful radio. So I hope you have some fun with that. I like your Cat 6 loop, Rob. I don't know if you're only on 8 kilohertz with low frequencies, but I was talking to Chris G4SDG, who's on. He does 136 a lot, and I was telling him that you were using your earthed pipes or whatever it was for your 8 kilohertz, and he has a similar arrangement. So he's going to try and knock up some 8 kilohertz gear and see if you can see him, Rob. And the solar LF receiver sounds good, and looking forward to seeing your Christmas lights, Rob. Just a quick one, because no one's mentioned it yet, for Brian GW4KAZ about the 29 megahertz. I think Mike designed a rather nice board, one of which I've got up there somewhere, but it's in a box and I don't want to risk knocking a whole pile of stuff over. I don't know if can you get them in the shop, Mike? I'm not too sure, but they seem to work very well, and they basically transvert. I've got mine set up. I can't remember. I think it goes from 2 meters to 10 meters. So I think that's how Richard has done it as well. Gareth, 45 amp power supplies, very nice. I think I've got my name on one of those, haven't I? And your 3D printing is your mechanical mind is that came out wrong, didn't it? Your grasp of mechanics is excellent, so that's very good. All this talk about 122 gigahertz is too scary. Mike, the poly, I can try something here. That should be the Polycom. If I press this button, it should then zoom onto another thing that arrived this week in the post. That's my ATS20. So I have got it sort of working. It's a bit of a lash up at the moment. I'm using the HDX 7000, and I don't know if you notice it, every now and again the picture flickers. I'm using monitor 2 to provide the video for this. I'm looking at the wrong camera for this thing. So it does seem to work with the HDX 7000. The 8000, I need to buy another one to get a power supply from it. As it turns out, my 7000 is the HD version, so hopefully this could be an HD picture. Anyway, that's enough from me for this over. Let's put it round again. And I haven't seen anyone checking out yet. Nice, you might have some issues with the HDMI capture. Yeah, well, what I've done, I've got a DVI to HDMI adapter from the back of the thing. That goes through an HDMI lead to an HDMI to USB adapter, which then goes into into the computer. So I'm amazed it works at all. Oh, James is going. Well, thanks for coming up, James, and say keep us posted with activities on the 290 and the HDX 7000 should be a clue for HD. I know you see the standard HDX 7000 apparently is not HD. Well, it's 720p, but the version I've got's got an extra board in it which does 1080p and stuff like that, stuff I don't understand. So with that, let's put the BATC test card up briefly. Back round to you, Mike. G0MJW in the group, G4FKK standing by.
Right, oops, too much power, sorry about that. Yeah, well, really interesting, Martin, thank you for that. And everyone else, I've got a few notes now to go through. I was distracted in some of those overs by looking on Pi Moroni and the Pi Hut. I was about to buy one of these 2GB Pi 4s, but then I remembered I don't really need one, so I managed to resist so far. But I was thinking about getting one for testing the board, but actually I can use the one I've got, so I don't think that's a problem. Anyway, a few comments. Gareth, that 3D printing looked very good. I must say that colour choice is very restrained compared to the earlier colours you were using, so very nice, and nice lathe work as well. I tend to find lathe work like that goes wrong at the very last stage, and I tend to mess it up, so very nice. Right, what else? Not sure about breakout board. Yeah, so this is the question I think it was Russ was asking about in the shop. I think that's Colin's board, and I think it is in stock, so I'm not sure why it's showing as out of stock. All the boards were around, certainly in the shop that we had at the microwave round table. At least all the ones I remember to look for were there. So try again, I think, maybe. The one I've designed's got a stonking great hole in it, and the idea of that is you put a fan in it, and I'll show you a picture of it again in a second. In fact, I can do that now. So it's at the bottom, and you can see the £10 for 1 kilogram roll, Gareth. That's good. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I paid more than that. Right, so back onto various things. So you can see the big hole in there. That's for mounting a fan, and just with a fan blowing air on the top of the Pi, it seems to cool everything more than adequately enough for most applications, unless you want to run Prime 95 on all the cores at all the time permanently. I think that would be sufficient. Also, there is probably the most used device I ever got from Kuhn Electronics, and I've got lots of their transverters, but that's the most useful device I ever got from them. What else? Pi heat sinks, yeah, we covered that. Oh yes, the other thing I was going to show, and am I on the right camera? Yeah, I am. I've got to move the remote control around again, which is always a little bit fraught, because I tend to get left and right confused with it and go the wrong way, just like I did there. So, oops, sitting next to my Winter Hill, which is what he's claiming to be a Vortex Star, is the other thing I bought at the microwave round table, which has got nothing to do with microwaves, but I thought it'd be useful for something. 251E, and I've replaced the dial bulb, but otherwise it was in perfect working order, so very good. So there we are, and actually this is my unused Winter Hill next to it. Oh dear, I'm not driving this Polycom very well, am I? But hopefully you're seeing this and it's not driving you mad. I managed to cram the Winterhill into that box, and it works. But I'm using the official box for the one I've got downstairs, so I've got two Winterhills, but I'm using the official one. That one has one of the heatsink cases that completely encloses the Pi. And as for the Polycoms, as you know, Martin, I've got both of them. The 7000 I had first, and it was HD. So I'm not sure why yours wasn't HD, or why they aren't HD. Gosh, Colin's boards have sold out. Okay. I'm sure Noel's ordered some more. But the 8000 is also HD, and I'm sure the HD in the HDX does indicate HD. There was a version that isn't HD, but I think it was called something else, but it was called 7000, so maybe that's the confusion. But the other bit is the camera, so you've got to have an HD camera to get HD out of it. So the Eagle Eye 3 camera is HD. I think some of the earlier ones were only 720p, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't have the Mutec front end, David, but I plugged it into an antenna and it was fine, even without a Mutec front end. I don't think Mutec front ends are required anymore if you live in a normal location. Not that they didn't make a huge improvement, it's just that the noise floor domestically is so high now that there's absolutely no point in having a low noise front end anymore, which is very much a pity, but that seems to be the way it is. Not that I need, by the way, the 251E. I just thought, well, I haven't got one, I might like to get one. It was very cheap, so why not? Right, that's it. I don't think there were any other questions. Oh, there was 29 megahertz boards. No, they're not available in the shop because they're just something that I was doing and Martin was doing. I can always send you some Gerbers. I had some boards. I've got rid of most of them. I think I might have one or two left. I have to check. The easy way is to send the Gerbers and then you can get some from JLC. Expect to pay quite a lot of money though. You might have to pay nearly £5 if you want 5 boards delivered by the standard system, and occasionally it can be 6 or 7, so I'm afraid they aren't cheap. Right, with that, round to Russ, and I've temporarily forgotten your call sign, Russ, but I will get it in a moment and pass it on to you. So, actually I won't get it at the moment because I can't find the right bit which gives the order. So anyway, you know your call sign. G0MJW.
G0MJW in the group G4SAQ returning. Yeah, okay. I've got to say I'm absolutely in awe when I come on this net and see how busy everybody's been making things. I'm way behind the curve on this lot. The 3D printing, I must echo what everyone said, Gareth. It's absolutely superb, the stuff you're turning out there. Something I've never tried. I went to a club lecture on 3D printing once and thought it looked very interesting, but I've got so many other things on that there's no way that I've even remotely thought of getting round to trying it myself. Yeah, James is gone now, which is a shame. That FT90 he showed me it when I visited his shack a couple of weeks back. Really nice radio, and if he's got the front end in it now, then clearly that's a great improvement. Though I echo what you say, Mike, about the noise. It's pretty horrendous, isn't it? I try to go on an HF net, a top band net actually, on Monday nights. And last Monday the noise on top band was unbelievable. I think it was probably 10 dB over 9 easily. And I've got an X-phase unit that I use, and I've got a loop antenna which I use as the noise pickup, and it seems to work quite well. But I just couldn't null the noise out at all on Monday night. Absolutely dreadful. Okay, what was I going to say? Oh, Martin, the double heat sink. Yeah, it looks very interesting, but you're saying it doesn't work well. Well, that's a real shame, isn't it? I'll have to see how I get on with this one. I've not used a Pi before, but I gather there's a facility to be able to read the processor temperature. So that being the case, it'll be easy to monitor it and find out what's going on. Other comments. I don't really think there's anything else I've got to add. I just wanted to say very good evening to John, G4BAO, if you're there, John. Not worked you on the air before, and I'm not going to tonight, obviously, because of your problems getting things organised. And the the price of those PCBs, Mike. Well, yeah, I'm obviously going to have to save up, aren't I? They're ridiculously cheap, aren't they? And I like your Kuhn accessory. When I first saw it, I thought it was a current clamp. And I looked more closely and realised what it actually was. So I take your point about the use for it. Anyway, that's all from me tonight. So I wish everybody a very good night. Thank you for your company on the net, and thank you very much, Martin, for running it. So remains for me to put it across to Richard, GI4DOH. Take it from G4SAQ.
G4SAQ with the group. GI4DOH. Just checking. Yes, I can hear myself. Yeah, thanks for that, Russ. I forgot first time round, Mike. Do like the fireworks there. It's very impressive and very festive. Keeping a fairly low profile with Christmas decorations so far this year, because I've been busy on other things. I'll see what the following week comes. And oh yes, about the colour of filaments, Gareth, it's quite a nice bright one there. Waiting to see what Santa Claus brings me. I'll no doubt end up with another couple of different colours of filament. I found out last year that was an easy thing to choose for me. And I did the manual auto cue. Martin, on what you were saying about switch mode power supplies, I think it's fair to say I never succeeded in repairing one in the past, but a bit more reward if I can get this one going. I have ordered all the replacements for all the electrolytic capacitors. I think it's about £10 invested in that. That seems to be the first step when you can't find other things, and take it from there. It's worth investing a bit of time and effort in, although quite honestly nowadays with the number of receivers that have got, indeed there's a ruggedized Pluto that I'm not short of things to actually look at the spectrum, but if you're trying to get something more detailed and reproducible, it did seem like an offer I couldn't refuse. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, looking at the auto cue, and there's something else I was going to show. The other distractions. One of the problems is always having distractions from whatever you're trying to achieve. I came across this. This is only one petal of a 6-petal 2.4 meter mesh dish. I might add that it's the 2-point-something or other millimeter mesh. So great hopes for that, right up to 10 gigahertz and the rest, which brings with it a whole new set of problems, and that hopefully Santa's going to bring me a rotator to put it on. and things like that. So I spent an awful lot of time researching what was on the web, and the rest of them kept coming down to the high resolution SPID. Thinking, well, it's for lifetime, it's not just for Christmas. So I finally got around to sending money off to the Netherlands tonight for that. So that's something else for me to play with. I have to start digging holes in the garden and putting poles in. I've no single point in the garden that can see things like the moon in all positions. I need more than one face. It's all part of the challenge. So plenty to keep me going here. The other thing, Gareth, about power supplies, I noted that I could have paid for the proprietary power supply to go with the rotator, but for the sake of 15 volts and 24 volts, I think there are plenty of alternatives like that on the market. And indeed, I have one or two kicking around here, so I sort of feel if I make a bit of effort myself, I can justify the expense on some of the other things. So that's all part of it. So I wish you all 7-3s for the night. I hope to be along next week. And I'll pass it on round to change now. It's Rob this time. M0 DTS with the BATC group. This is GI4DOH. Good night all.
Let me know the power's reset as well. Oh dear me. We're doing well at the moment. Let's see, is that better? We're doing well at the moment. Okay, that's as good as I can make it. Yeah, apologies for that. For some reason, it's decided to stop working. As usual. It was working lovely before. That's better. Good. Comments. Yeah, his Polycom camera things sound quite interesting. I'll have to have a look at them. Especially anything. Do they actually have HDMI outputs on the cameras, or is it only network? Just out of curiosity. No. Okay. Maybe not then. But depends if it adds any more latency. I suppose it's bad enough as it is. 3D printing, yeah, that's all looks really nice, Gareth. I kind of want to do lots of things like that, but I only ever do little bits of things like that. I don't seem to sort of have the patience to persevere with a project long enough to put that much effort into the designs for the print. That's my problem. But anyway, yeah, been thinking during the week. I've been at work the last 4 days, but in between work, I've been thinking about, because I've got the resin printer now, looking at printing clear lenses out of clear resin, obviously. and see whether you can actually 3D print lenses and maybe polish them up, or some other means to get a nice clear coat on them for some optical stuff. But I'll need to look into that a little bit more, because getting the right lens to match your LED size and focus it and everything's a little bit tricky. You tend to have to buy the bits to make do with what's available, but that'll be good. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you got your work cut out there, Martin. That's for sure. What else? Anything else to comment on? I don't know. I'm just looking around the shack, see whether there's anything to actually talk about, but I don't think I've got anything else this time around. The only other thing I've done was been doing quite a bit of work on KMs in the background. Repeater. And I've put in a new feature which so there's a Raspberry Pi in GB3KM which controls all the switching of video and audio and everything like that. It's like the master control, but it also generates the test cards and the slideshow. So I've put in a new feature last week actually, where if there's any activity on the repeater, it just it uses FFmpeg in the background to decode the video and take a snapshot. So it takes a snapshot every 1 minute and then stores it on the Raspberry Pi. And then I've created a bit of code in Python with pygame to basically cycle through the images. So it loops through the images that get a time lapse of the activity. So with those 4 images you can see on the screen there is one snapshot of time, and then it cycles through. So if I was on for 15 minutes in the repeater, you'd get 15 samples of the time lapse effectively of what went on. So it looks quite good. Very simple, but very effective. So we can see who has accessed the repeater, what time roughly, and what picture they were putting in. So yeah, there'll be some more improvements on that. I've added a video slideshow, like a video carousel as well, that plays now and again. So therell be more stuff coming with that. But, so yeah, quite a lot of stuff has been just software and things, so not a lot to show from it. But yeah, so I think that's it. Good. Yeah, pygame is really handy. It makes things pretty easy for that. Very convoluted. You're telling me. Oh, that might be for someone else. Okay, yeah. Everything's very convoluted. I really struggle with APIs to figure out what's what. I need clear examples to make use of things. Right. Well, I think that's it. So, round to Gareth again. Oh, yeah. The power combiner. Well, Terry G1LPS was listening on. I'm talking to him on 750 at the same time while we're watching the net. And Terry suggested going in between the two combiners or splitters, whichever way you look at it, to get your combination of two. But also pointed out that once you combine it, the PCB might not actually handle the power, so you might not be able to run that much anyway. But I suppose that's tried and see. The other comment was don't run too much voltage into the other amplifier. Which one was it now? I can't remember. Oh, totally lost us. Anyway, the other amp that should have only 12 volts in, I think. So Toshiba, thanks Terry, that was it. Yeah, the Toshiba 3.4 gigs amps. So yeah, be careful with that. I think I know I've run a lot more with it. I've run it off 13.8 and been totally fine, but at 12 volt I think that's what it's meant to be at, or below. Right, so yeah, right to you Gareth. G4XAT M0 DTS on the BATC net. Without that.
Right, lovely. Thanks, Rob. M0DTS, this is G4X80, coming back to the net, especially if I give you a picture. Right, yeah, I've read there's quite a lot on the web on those Toshibas, because they've been around a bit, and I think 12.6 is what it wants. Or it does something strange about shutting down the PA stage a bit. You might not notice unless you're monitoring, but whatever. Noted. I set one of those power supplies to 12.6 exactly, and then I loaded it up to 44 amps, and it went down to 12.3. So given a Toshiba at full bore draws 15, I think it'll be okay. And noted on joining them, yeah, it's just a what if, you know. I mean, I could make another Wilkinson combiner, because I found some nice big 250 watt dump resistors, cheap enough on AliExpress, just a bit slow. Yeah, but that's a 40 watt one, isn't it, Mike? The Stealth. I've got a 20 watt Stealth. But when I saw one of these Toshibas, and then another, whatever. All right, 50 watt. Yeah, okay. Well, that's about right. 15 amps for 50 watt and 20 amps for whatever. Okay. In conversation with Noel, I've shown you this last week, the tripod tilt. Noel suggested putting the Magic Gadget underneath so that it doesn't get in the way of what you want to put on top of the table. So that works just as before for tilting your dish and quickly optimising it. But in discussions, we've decided it's probably worth having a turn wheel, because you can easily set the thing level, and then once you've got your signal, you can tweak it up and down a little bit. But anyway, that's more work in progress. I don't mind the revolting colours, to be honest. The 3D printing, it's appropriate that a 250 watt 13 sems amp is done in fluorescent green. At least I think so, anyway. But that was a load of filament I bought to print masks with at the start of the pandemic. And once people got bored with them, it had to be used. But that new filament, I've never used PLA Plus before, but an advert popped up on Facebook, 5 rolls of a kilo each for 50 quid delivered. And it had very good reviews. I thought, well, they're either real or fake. But it's excellent stuff. It's quite harder than ordinary PLA. And it prints really nicely. I'm very pleased with it. So there we are. Okay, I'll just show you the 6 gig amp. Hang on. Okay, that's the business end of it. Really quite interesting what's in there. I suspect that those are the ends of the push-pull pair at the end. There's 2 of them, one on each side, and that one's got the lid off it. And what I'm hoping to do, because it's too heavy for portable like this, is run a bandsaw through the middle of that heatsink all the way along, and then I'll have 2 amplifiers. And the only drawback, of course, is getting the data on what makes them fly. PLA Plus, I did read about it. Something's been added to it to make it a bit harder. Yeah, well, I borrowed Neil's flatbed truck to get one of those home, and then I went to pick it up for him, but my gum, it's heavy. The power supply in it is, if anybody wants 125 amps at 13.2 volts, it's a beautiful TDK one. It's actually the same as the one that's running my 28 volts for the PA here. The same family, I've got the data on it. So 8 volts to 13.2 adjustable, 125 amps. I don't know how many of those amps the 2 amps used. I'd guess, hopefully, since they gave 100 watts of RF, not quite that. But yes, they were lovely. They are lovely units. I've got microwave dummy loads and load of hardline, all sorts of bits and pieces out of it. So it'll live on. Anyway, I may or may not be back by next Thursday because I'm helping my son build a lean-to conservatory. So you'll be not treated to the wrong slide or anything like that. I think that's it from me for today. It is, yes. So I'll shut up. And round to you, Martin, G4FKK, to pick it up in the BATC net from G4XAT. 5432.
One, two, three, four, five. Back on again. Yeah, thanks, Gareth. Let's let's try this for a bit. This Polycom camera. Anyway, I think that's not bad, is it? We've been round twice, and it's 6 minutes past 9. So, phew. I don't know if you saw that flicker, but that's what it does every now and again, Mike. This system I've got. It's reading my notes. Yeah, the IC251E. I'm glad that worked, Mike. They're nice radios. So I have got one up in the loft somewhere, but I don't exactly know where. And I think that's got a Mutec front end. But as you say, there's so much noise around. Actually, it's not too bad here on 2. The quietest band I've got is 4 meters, but it's very, very quiet because there's not many people on it these days. Not since poor old Jeff G3NPI passed away. Yeah, I was reading. I did a lot of research while I was waiting for these things to arrive, and evidently the original HDX, despite the D in it, 7000 was not HD. Well, it depends how you define HD, and I wouldn't know. It was 720p anyway, so as much as it went. But you could then get the X version, or yeah, I think it was called the X version, which was an added board, and mine's got that. So if you look at the system information, it says it's the HD version on my one. Yeah, and talking of noise on Top Band, Russ. Yeah, well, Top Band for many years was my favourite band, and it still is quite fond of it. But I do exactly the same as you. I've got a rotatable loop, just a wide band loop, and I use that as my noise aerial. And I can actually still use Top Band, but it is actually it's not as bad now as it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago it was just terrible. 80 meters is noisy here as well. Well, they all are. Richard, yeah, a recap. I mean, I've fixed a few PC switch mode power supplies by just doing a recap. But if they don't work after that, then you've got it's difficult. You don't know. Mine doesn't do that. Is it the HDMI capture dongle? Yeah, probably is, Mike. So I say I'm going from DVI through a just a cable that converts that to HDMI, then into the converter, which was very cheap from eBay. So I have got a DVI to USB 3.1 coming at some point, which has got a C connector on it, so I can hopefully do that. Anyway, what was I droning on about? Oh, the recap, yeah. And the power supply I was looking at doesn't look like anything fatal's gone, but it's blown a fuse, a resettable fuse as well, and it had a little thermistor in it. I wonder if this will focus up on that. No. And that's cracked as well, but whether that would have affected it, I don't know. And I don't know what it's supposed to do. Well, I know what a thermistor does, before someone tells me, but I don't know what it does in that power supply. And yeah, the dish looks great, Richard, even in its very slightly built state. I don't know how big that one of yours is on your test card, Rob, but that looks a monster as well. And you'll have to keep us posted on the EME, Richard. Resin printer, clear lenses. Yeah, well, my dad was a watchmaker, and he had some gunk. It's probably illegal now because they've used to have pots full of things like benzene and carbon tep and all that sort of stuff. But it was I think they used to use it to polish the cockpits on Spitfires in the war. But when he used that on plastic crystals, watch glasses, it worked really well. So that might work well with your clear lenses. And the GB3KM mod sounds excellent, Rob. It's something you knocked up in a lunchtime, I guess. So very good. And Gareth, yeah, nothing wrong with fluorescent green. And okay, about next Thursday. Well, next Thursday, hopefully Dave will be back. So normal service will be resumed. But thanks everyone for coming up on the net. Thanks to all the various people that have made all this possible. And I shall look forward to seeing you next week or speaking to you, some of you, during the week. So with that, cheerio, and thanks again. G4 Fox King closing the net. But feel free to carry on. I've got to go now and pick my wife up from the pub at which she's been for the last 4 hours. Could be a worry. G4FKK. Cheerio.